IRS workers are always making sure we pay what we owe when it comes to our taxes. That is their job. But 5 current and former IRS workers out of the Memphis office are facing lots of jail time tonight. The feds say they committed fraud with our tax dollars by illegally obtaining COVID relief money. And wait until you hear how they spent it.
You got to be a special type of stupid to work for the IRS and think that you're going to get away with something like this.
The IRS Service Center on Getwell in southeast Memphis is a massive complex employing thousands of workers, but 5 of them are accused of defrauding the PPP program and other loans made possible by the CARES Act passed during the height of the pandemic. The feds say 46-year-old Brian Salisbury of Memphis fraudulently obtained $171,400 in loans. They say he spent the money on a Mercedes-Benz and put the rest in a personal investment.
So he threw away his career. He's probably been there for some time for $171,000, which he bought a Benz and he put the rest in a personal investment account. We got to make it make sense, man. To risk your career and now have a felony on your record for $170,000, and now you're going to have no way of making, you lose your career, no way of making money in the future. Not that smart.
Account. Courtney Quincy Westmoreland, 38, of Cordova, is accused of illegally obtaining $16,050 in unemployment insurance and $11,500 in loans. The feds say she bought luxury clothing with that money.
Not even 30 grand, and she tricked it off on some clothing.
The feds also say 35-year-old Fatina Hewitt of Olive Branch fraudulently obtained $28,900 in loan funds she said she needed for a fashion business. But investigators say she instead bought Gucci clothing and
tricked it off in Vegas. Wow, we gotta really think smarter.
Took a trip to Las Vegas. 27-year-old Roderick DeMarco White II of Memphis got $66,666 in loan funds, money the feds say he spent on personal items including a Gucci satchel. And finally, 56-year-old Tina Humes of Memphis is accused of getting $123,612 in illegal loan money. She also made trips to Las Vegas and bought some nice jewelry, according to the indictment. Well, the last 3 defendants have all pleaded guilty to the charges against them. That may help them when it comes to sentencing, which, by the way, each count of wire fraud can bring 20 years in federal prison and money.
Each count can bring 20 years. Most of these people on this list didn't even get over $30,000. They threw a career away at the IRS for a Gucci satchel, some Gucci shoes, which they could have bought themselves. We got to make it make sense.
Money laundering can bring another 10 years. Federal prosecutors say they will not tolerate anyone abusing the public trust by abusing pandemic relief programs.
2 taxpayer-funded loans took us to Darlington, South Carolina. City Councilwoman and her son both benefited from tens of thousands of dollars from Paycheck Protection Program loans. Our chief investigator, Jody Barr, set out to figure out whether this elected official truly owned a business with paychecks to protect. That's tonight's Politician's Payout as a Queen City News investigation.
So this is the big boy here. This is the granddad. This is what we call a Dixie. Well, we from the South. Dixie chopper.
Cisco Reed's still enjoying the fruits of his PPP loan.
50-inch zero turn.
7 years ago, Reed started Elaine's Son Lawn Care, an after work and weekend gig he calls his side hustle.
One-stop shop.
Reed applied for and was awarded a $20,832 PPP loan in May 2021, a year into the pandemic. Small Business Administration records show Reed asked for the loan to protect one paycheck in his sole proprietorship.
It was able.
Interesting. So he asked for this $20,000 for basically paycheck protection, but he took the funds and brought equipment for his business. Would that be misappropriation of funds? Like I said, I'm not an expert in this area. Let me know in the comments below.
Well, it helped me to go from a push to a zero turn. And in this business, you got to have a zero turn. There's no way around it. You got to have good weed eaters.
So this was bought with a loan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people may look at this and they say, wait a minute, Cisco Reed, The title of the loan was Paycheck Protection Program, not Equipment Purchase Program. What would you say to that?
But it was for small businesses.
Federal records show Reed's loan was forgiven in June 2022.
I know in this PPP loan era during that time, there was a lot of scams, schemes, but you can see that I gave you document that I had the business before PPP loan, I had it during the PPP loan, and I have it after the PPP loan.
How you doing?
Well, yeah. I mean, at least give him the benefit of the doubt. At least he did use the actual funds to invest in an actual real business and didn't take the money and just trick it off on some material possessions. He actually brought things to help grow his business, and he still has the business after the pandemic, and is still making money today. So,
Hello, Ms. Reed. Hey, I'm Jody Barr with Queen City News.
Hey,
Hey.
I do apologize. One of these.
Oh, okay. Well, I got hugged too. I give hugs.
Oh, okay.
Can we talk to you about this PPP loan?
Well, I got 5 minutes.
I'll only take one. The PPP loan database also shows Darlington City Councilwoman Elaine Reed, Cisco Reed's mother, received a $20,833 PPP loan. We filed record requests with City Hall and the state looking for corporation filings and business licenses. The state had no records for the Reeds, but the city provided copies of business licenses for Cisco Reed.
ooh, okay. Now things get a little deep. Now he was tied. Okay, he was tied in with the councilwoman. Okay, yeah, there's definitely some foul play, definitely some shadiness going on here now.
One for 2019, nothing in 2020, and another issued to him in June 2021, 3 weeks after the government approved his PPP loan.
Make sure all the newspapers get this.
I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but yeah, it's definitely starting to look a little suspect now.
But the city had no record showing the councilwoman ever held a business license there. We asked her to schedule an interview with us, but she wouldn't. We found her outside City Hall last month.
And I was doing it to just kind of supplement my son. And his is Elaine's son's, and that's how it was spent.
So you got a PPP loan, but you don't have an employee, you don't own a business.
Well, I do have an employee at that time. I just, paid them to be able to do the work. And
Sounds like she needs to get a lawyer because it sounds like she's about to tell on herself here.
that was to be able to help with the lawn, the record, do the work.
The other thing that we've seen is, it is not uncommon at all for people just to make up a business.
Former United States Attorney Bill Nettles knows this and says similar questions surround hundreds of PPP loan cases across the country. He and his Carolina whistleblowers law groups represented PPP loan fraudsters and the whistleblowers.
What I don't understand, these people actually have careers. Like they've been at these jobs 10, 15, 20 plus years. Why would you risk a career for $20,000, $30,000? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Who've uncovered fraud, waste, and abuse against taxpayers. Where is the trouble when you talk about PPP loan fraud?
That's a real good question, right? The fraud in PPP loans is not in how the money was spent, basically. The fraud is in the application for the loan or the application for the forgiveness from the loan. Either exaggerating in the application for the loan or exaggerating in the application for forgiveness or just outright lying.
Okay, I get it. Basically saying, so it's not so much how the funds are spent, but people are exaggerating probably how much income their business was making, how many employees they had to receive more loan funds than they really needed. Got it.
And when you see that, that is fraud.
I did not even expect to get it. I was surprised.
But if you don't have a business to support applying, did you fill out the loan paperwork?
Yeah.
And
Why is this woman still talking to this man? Like, you're literally incriminating yourself.
did you certify on there that you had a business and that you were in
And see,
business?
but I was doing it because I worked with my son.
The loan, she says, was to pay 2 men who worked for her around her home. The PPP loan database shows the councilwoman listed her business type as self-employed individuals with one employee. She reported her business classification as lawn and garden tractor and home loan and garden equipment manufacturing, a business that she listed existing more than 2 years. But the public database does not show the business name. It seems as though if there's not a business in your name and then you got a PPP
I
loan,
understand.
that may be a problem. Do you agree?
Well, I'll just have to get with the council because you got a bug on you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I didn't even know he had applied. Didn't have a clue. And then we were saying, I mean, it was just so much mixed up.
You think
stuff.
y'all might have had one loan too many?
For real.
He's trying to be smart.
So as far as what you want to know, I don't know if it's just to what.
I mean, what we want to know is did you get a loan? Did you get almost
I got a loan.
21,000?
It's public knowledge. I got
Right.
a loan.
But is it something you should have gotten, should have had,
Well, see,
given the fact
that's-
that you don't own a business?
Listen, exactly. If that's what you want to do, according to whatever, maybe not. I just filled the paperwork. I was given that.
When you find yourself in a hole, man, the first thing you want to do is stop digging. She just needs to stop talking.
Who gave it to you?
Lord, you know,
Who gave you the application or told you about it?
oh, I got that. Gosh, there were so many of that around, I don't even remember it.
Cisco Reed told us someone also approached him about the PPP loan opportunity, but he too could not remember who that was.
I know we didn't go to the same people, so.
Who did you use to help you with yours?
I went to a tax service. Oh, I don't know the name.
In Darlington?
I want to say, matter of fact, I want to say in Hartsfield.
You don't remember who that was?
No, I don't
Or
remember
where it was?
I don't remember who it was.
Come on, man. Now you don't remember the tax service that you used. I don't even know why they would agree to do this interview on camera, knowing they did some janky stuff.
Asked both Reeds to help clear up these questions by showing us a copy of their PPP records. The government required applicants to, in good faith, give the details of their business, payroll amounts, and the number of employees who they paid payroll taxes for, including any independent contractors for whom they filed IRS Form 1099 miscellaneous. The government requires borrowers to hang on to employment records for 4 years and 3 years for all other records. Can you share your application for that loan with us?
I can find it.
A month after this interview, the councilwoman tells us she still has not found the copy of her PPP loan records. She did tell us she's working on getting her loan forgiven.
You know,
If I could
because
see the application, that might clear this up.
Clear what up? See, I don't know what the problem is.
Well, the problem is that you got a business, a PPP loan to
Yeah.
protect paychecks for a business that you have, and we got no record of you having a business.
Okay, so that's the fact. That's it.
A report from the U.S. Small Business Administration published last month shows more than $200 billion in suspected fraudulent payments made from pandemic loans. More than 1,000 indictments, 803 people arrested, and 529 convictions across the country. The government's recovered only $30 billion of the $200 billion lost to pandemic relief fraud. Both Cisco Reed and his mother Elaine contend they followed the third-party advice that led them to their loans.
Your job is to kind of defame or show the bad side of the negative. There's no negative.
We wouldn't have come here if that was our
Okay.
job, if that's what
Look,
we're after.
Sweetheart, everything, my intentions are all good. They asking for.
I spoke with both Councilwoman Elaine Reed and her son Cisco earlier this week. Both tell me they cannot find their PPP loan application.
And they never will find the loan applications. Like I said, it sounds like she's a councilwoman, so she's probably, connected and plugged into the right people. So nothing is going to come of this.
Watchdog implicated several more state workers in An Illinois watchdog implicated several more state workers in a sweeping investigation into pandemic-era fraud. 37 employees at the Ludeman Developmental Center in Park Forest have resigned, been fired, or faced discipline for defrauding the federal Paycheck Protection Program. They're accused of receiving PPP loans of at least $20,000 each. for businesses that did not exist or didn't earn the income claimed in the paperwork. They're among dozens of workers across the state who will lose their jobs due to pandemic fraud. Advocates for residents at state-run facilities say they're worried about how staffing levels.
Again, to have a state job, a lot of these people probably been working these jobs since they were young, 18, 20, 23 years old, and plan to retire. To do all of this fraud for $20,000, when that's probably that's probably not even half of what they make in a year, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just pure greed and not even thinking of the bigger picture. I just don't get it at all. Doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Pleaded guilty to misusing nearly $1 million in PPP loan money. Investigators say he spent the cash meant to relieve small businesses on himself. As News for Jackson investigator Ann Maxwell.
Well, at least this was $1 million and not 20, 30,000. So I guess that's a plus.
Paul explains this is not the first time the I-team has investigated Kenneth Stephen Landers.
Everything we do is above board.
That's what Kenneth Stephen, or Steve, Landers told the I-team in December of 2021. But in reality, federal authorities say he was defrauding taxpayers out of hundreds of thousands of COVID relief dollars, using it to buy a gold Rolex, possibly this watch he was wearing during a previous interview, and an $87,000 vintage Jaguar Roadster. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Landers submitted false information and documents in 2020 and 2021 to receive 7 PPP loans totaling $910,000.
I mean, he went big. I mean, he got the Rollie, he got the vintage Jag. He went for broke.
IRS Assistant Special Agent in Charge Tara Reed says she can't reveal how investigators learned about Landers, but notes it's not uncommon for members of the public to tip them off.
AKA somebody snitched on him. Somebody told, rightfully so.
Every single person who chooses to break the law and defraud the government, we will find and we will prosecute to the fullest extent.
Prosecutors say Landers used the money meant to keep businesses afloat and people employed as a personal piggy bank, withdrawing more than $100,000 cash, writing checks to himself, and padding his personal account. They also say he used the cash infusions to pay down his debt, including paying off his mortgages on his waterfront home and Northside tire business. Reed says Landers forged tax documents when he applied for loans on behalf of 4 corporate entities he controlled, including the American Fallen Veterans Service Project nonprofit. Its website asks visitors to help support the families of our fallen veterans with your generous.
Absolutely sick. Scamming in the name of veterans. Absolutely deplorable. And what's sad is the people that probably worked for his businesses, he wasn't even probably trickling down any of these money to them. They were struggling, just trying to make ends meet, and he's over here living an opulent lifestyle, buying $60,000, $70,000 watches, $80,000, $90,000 cars, paying off waterfront property.
Car donation. Federal prosecutors say the organization's bank account went from $0 to $200,000 when it got approved for a COVID relief loan.
As a veteran myself, it really is offensive because we have a lot of veterans out there who, gave their service to this great country. And yes, Mr. Landers is using what's supposed to be a nonprofit charity veterans organization to steal money from the government.
Steve's tire empire is now crumbling after Landers pleaded guilty to fraud. Court records show he's agreed to sell his home and his business to repay the government, in addition to returning at least $910,000 to taxpayers.
And when someone like Mr. Landers defrauds the government, it affects all of us.
Ann Maxwell, Channel 4, the local station.
Good, good, good. I'm glad to hear you're going to sell the house, the business. Hopefully he loses it all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.